Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Gardener. So in today's video I wanted to talk about this casualty that happened in my garden. This was my Crassula red pagoda which happened to rot. Now if you're wondering, was this rot due to overwatering or was it a dry rot? Now you'd be surprised it was none of this, but there was a small casualty. Now what usually happens is that when I wake up in the morning before heading to work, take a look at my garden or at my succulents, doing a little bit of visual check. Now unfortunately, maybe in haste, I went ahead and did a small cutting. Probably I separated a small part of the succulent in order to propagate it, which I shouldn't have done. I made a big mistake over there. That was a human error. I happened to take one of the cutting out of this plant, and I kept this plant in indirect bright light, away from rain, away from water, moisture, everything. So this was kept in indirect bright light, away from any moisture. But this pot I happened to forget, because when I was leaving to work, it was very sunny. There was a good amount of sun, bright blue sky, everything was looking fantastic. I didn't worry much. So I was being a little bit lazy. I should have picked up the pot and kept it aside. I didn't do it because the sky was very clear, no clouds. Went to work. After coming back home, I realized it had rained and the floor was completely wet. There was water everywhere. The moment I seen this pot, I knew it was done, it was gone. Now you might say I should have repotted the succulent, taken out the succulent from the pot. Now guys, it was not related with root rot, but it was related that the moisture came in contact, especially the part where I had done the cutting. So it was already done. I couldn't do anything. I can't even wipe off that water or moisture with a tissue paper. It's not going to help, because the cut part had already come in contact with rainwater or moisture, whatever you can call it. It had already come in contact with that, and I knew the very next day it will start to rot, and that's exactly what happened. You can see it's completely gone off. It's very mushy, just like how an overwatered succulent will look like. If I'm going to take out the succulent, you can see the roots are still very fresh. There is no root rot, but the place where there was an open entry, that's where the moisture came in and the entire succulent got rotted. So this is exactly what happens. But luckily this one was kept aside. You can see it's doing quite well. I had also added in some cinnamon powder. The cut is getting dried. It's not completely callous, so it's still kept in indirect bright light. But you can see a small little mistake can kill your entire succulent. It was a good size of succulent. I think I might have already made a video on it. It was a very tall, vertical growing Crassula red pagoda, was doing extremely well. But unfortunately, one small little error and there you go. Now, am I feeling bad about it? Not actually, because I can't do much about it. Luckily, I do have some more of them that had propagated long time back and they're doing extremely well. You can see this one is completely stressed because it's getting a lot of morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours. You can see it's doing extremely well, a good amount of coloration. I have another one over here. It is just about to pick up the colors. It is also sharing its pot with an Haworthia melano. So you can see they're doing extremely well, but nothing much. The only positive thing what I can think is I can reuse this pot for some other plant. Other than that, I can't do much. So guys, you do not need to be worried, because I do see a lot of people who tend to panic and start getting demotivated the moment one of the succulents starts to die. This is a very normal thing which is going to happen in your garden. There is going to be a couple of succulents or plants that tend to rot, that tend to die off, but that doesn't mean that you're going to stop gardening or you're going to stop collecting succulents. Even after 7 to 8 years of keeping succulents, you can see this is what usually happens, and it's absolutely normal. Every successful garden is built on error and trial, so it's not that one plant dies and you completely give up on your hobby. That's not how it works. So if this ever happens to you, please do not be demotivated. This usually happens whether you have a good amount of experience or whether you are a beginner. These are the things that usually tend to happen, and we do not need to be worried. That is one of the reasons why most of my videos are so detailed, because all of these small little details do matter. Probably this succulent might have survived, probably this succulent would have not survived. In my case, it didn't survive. At times you might get away, probably if you're lucky. Probably that was not my lucky day that day. So this is what happens. That's why I keep putting in a lot of details, that whenever you do any kind of cutting, ensure it doesn't come in contact with any water, because I know there are certain videos on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, wherein people do the cutting and they start spraying it immediately. I don't know how it works for them, because I've never seen them showing the same pot again. They probably show some other pot. So this is probably one of the reasons. Maybe it works for them very well. It doesn't work very well for me. Probably it might not work for a lot of people. That's why whenever I make any videos, I give you very detailed information. A lot of people might think it's not necessary, but this is exactly what's going to happen. One bad day and this is exactly what's going to happen. So you need to be a little bit careful. Pay attention to those small details. If you have done this cutting, don't be lazy like me. Just move the pot to a place wherein it won't come in contact with any rainwater or any kind of moisture, or you don't accidentally water it. Otherwise you're going to end up with a succulent like this. So this is a part and parcel of gardening. Nothing to be worried, nothing to be demotivated. This is a normal thing. It does happen. Even after 7 to 8 years of keeping succulents, I do have a couple of succulents that do get rotted, and that's absolutely normal. That is part of gardening. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep propagating.